Listen to me with all your heart. There comes a moment in every woman's life when the silence of heaven breaks open. When the voice of God cuts through the noise, the confusion, the endless questions, and he whispers with authority, "Daughter, the time has come. I will reveal it all to you." And when that moment arrives, it will not be a gentle word that leaves you unchanged. It will be a revelation so piercing, so undeniable, that it will force you to let go of what you once believed you could never release. Letting go does not mean abandoning. It does not mean being cruel. Detachment is a gift from heaven, the sacred ability to love deeply, but not live in chains to the fear of losing what you love. Many women mistake clinging for loyalty, but sometimes holding on is not faithfulness. It is disobedience. There are seasons when God must cut away our emotional dependencies so he can place on our heads the crown of spiritual clarity. He is not trying to harden you. He is trying to make you whole. When God removes someone or something from your life, it is never by accident. Heaven is not random. Heaven is precise. Detachment is like divine surgery. It cuts away what cannot survive in the chapter you are stepping into. Some of you are mourning things you should actually be thankful are gone only because you cannot yet see what God is making space for. But hear me closely. When God declares it is time to speak to you, he will not speak while your ears are drowned with the voices that keep you blind. A woman's identity is holy. It must never be rented out to the opinions of others or locked up in the prison of someone else's approval. You cannot walk fully in your God, given calling if your emotions are tied to people who drain your spirit. Detachment is the proof that you finally recognize who you are. Destiny is fragile when left exposed. A woman who has not learned detachment will always bargain away her vision just to keep others comfortable. But a woman who knows that her purpose is a sacred trust from God will guard her heart, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You are not rejecting people. You are protecting the anointing upon your life. Love is mighty, but love without freedom turns into bondage. To love as God designed, you must be free enough to give without fear and brave enough to walk away without losing your soul. When you stop grasping out of desperation, you begin to love from a place of strength. There will be seasons when God pulls you apart from others, not because you are unworthy of connection, but because he is about to give you instructions that require silence and a still spirit. Isolation is not abandonment. It is God's classroom. In that secret space, his voice becomes clear, and you realize every removal, every cutting away was part of his plan. When you reach the point where you do not need anyone else's approval to believe in your calling, when you can stand by yourself without fear, when you can love freely without being bound, then you have stepped into spiritual authority. And in that sacred place, God will begin to reveal everything. Not because you begged for answers, but because you showed him you can carry truth without crumbling. Detachment is often mistaken for coldness, as if it means shutting down your heart or refusing to care. But true detachment is the purest form of love. It is love without chains. It is the ability to give your heart fully, to show kindness and compassion, to pour out love, yet remain rooted so deeply in God that no rejection, no abandonment, no betrayal can tear away your peace. Many confuse attachment with love. But attachment often rises from fear. Fear of losing, fear of being alone, fear of being rejected. That kind of love is fragile because it is not built on freedom, but on dependence. And when you cling from fear, you lose your ability to choose clearly. You bend your boundaries. You put people in a place only God should hold. Detachment, however, teaches you to love from wholeness, to care without chains, to give without expecting repayment, to let go without bitterness when necessary. It is not about loving less. It is about loving strong. It is about remaining free in the very act of giving. A detached woman can face loss without losing herself, because her identity is anchored in eternity. She can rejoice in relationships without worshiping them. She can pour into others without being ruled by them. She can endure life's changes without falling apart. This is the freedom God longs for you to walk in. Not a hardened heart, but a heart so secure in Him that no human tie, however precious, becomes a source of your life. Detachment keeps your love clean, your mind clear, and your spirit unshaken in a world that is always uncertain. And when God takes something away, it is almost never to harm you. It is always to prepare you. Removal is not always loss. It is often a divine rearrangement, a holy shift in the atmosphere of your life that clears space for what God has been preparing long before you even knew it was coming. Many times we cling to things simply because they are familiar, not because they are fruitful. Familiarity feels safe, but God sees beyond what feels safe. He knows when a relationship, a habit, a place, or even a mindset has run its course and can no longer serve your journey. The real problem is that you, and I often confuse comfort with purpose. Just because something feels good right now does not mean it will carry you into your destiny. That is why God sometimes interrupts your attachments. He will shut doors you keep forcing open, silence voices you leaned on too much, or shift situations in such a way that bonds you thought would last forever suddenly come undone. In the moment it feels like loss, but in reality it is revelation. He is revealing to you that your true source was never in what you lost. It has always been in Him. When God removes something, He is making room for clarity, for a new season, for the next level of your calling. But if you are too tightly holding on to what was, you will not recognize what is arriving. His removal is never random, it is always strategic. He never takes without the plan to replace it with something far greater in purpose. You might not understand His timing, but His hand is exact. What He removes today may be the very thing that would have weighed you down tomorrow. When God removes, it is never rejection of you. It is His way of protecting you. And in those moments, His quiet voice is saying, I am preparing you for what I am about to reveal. Your identity is not a thing to be traded, borrowed, or handed over in exchange for someone's approval. It is a divine mark placed on you by God before you took your very first breath, and it carries the essence of your unique purpose. Yet many women, often without even realizing it, surrender pieces of their identity to the opinions, expectations, and validation of others. They reshape themselves to fit into someone else's idea of who they should be, silence their voice to avoid conflict, or shrink their dreams just to keep a relationship alive. This is not humility. It is slow erosion. It is like giving away little pieces of yourself until one day you wake up wondering where you went. When your value depends on another person's recognition, you have given them the power to define you. But that position belongs only to God. People's opinions shift like sand in the wind. If you build your sense of worth on them, you will constantly rebuild yourself to fit their changing view. True strength rises when you know who you are in God and refuse to trade that identity for mere acceptance. That means you can walk into a room where no one claps for you and still move with the confidence of a woman who knows she was sent by heaven. It means you can love with depth and compassion without losing yourself in the process. Leasing out your identity always costs more than it gives. It drains your peace, blurs your vision, and delays your destiny. Your calling was never meant to be measured by someone else's comfort level. The moment you reclaim authority over your identity is the moment you stop asking permission to be who you already are. God's design for your life requires you to show up fully as yourself, not as a shadow formed by someone else's needs, but as the original creation He dreamed you to be. Protecting your identity means protecting the very foundation of your destiny. And destiny, dear friend, is a sacred trust. It cannot survive in an atmosphere without boundaries. Emotional and spiritual detachment is one of the most powerful tools God gives you to guard what He has placed inside. Without it, you become open to distractions, manipulation, and influences that slowly drain your vision. Not every voice deserves a seat in your heart, and not every relationship is equipped to carry the weight of your calling. Detachment is not about cutting yourself off from the world or living in isolation. It is about intentionally creating distance from anything that can distort your focus or weaken your walk with God. There are people who love you but, without meaning to, will pull you away from your assignment. There are situations that look harmless at first, but quietly chip away at your spiritual strength over time. A woman who understands her destiny learns to discern these dangers and responds with wisdom rather than guilt. She understands that saying no is not rejection, it is protection. Her purpose requires clarity, and clarity cannot grow in a heart tangled in unhealthy ties. Detachment opens space for God's voice to come without interference. It allows you to make decisions with precision, aligning not with fleeting emotions, but with your long-term assignment. When your emotions are too tied to the wrong things, hesitation creeps in and obedience to God becomes delayed. But when you practice detachment, you step into a freedom that allows you to obey His direction immediately without second guessing. Protecting your destiny means keeping guard over your inner atmosphere. It means resisting noise, confusion, and unhealthy dependency. It means intentionally surrounding yourself with people and environments that lift your vision higher rather than weigh it down. Your calling is too valuable to leave exposed. Detachment is the fence that guards it until it fully blossoms. Love, too, was never meant to be a cage. It was always meant to be freedom. Freedom to grow, freedom to walk in purpose, freedom to remain true to the identity God designed for you. The truest kind of love flows from a place of freedom where you choose to give without fear, without pressure, and without the need to control or be controlled. Many people mistake love for possession, believing that to love someone deeply means holding on so tightly that they can never leave. But a love built on fear becomes a prison. It demands constant proof. It smothers trust and drains joy. God's vision for love is never about ownership, it's about stewardship. You are called to care, to support, to uplift, but never to lose your soul in the process. When you love without chains, you can bless someone without becoming their crutch. You can walk beside them without losing your own path. You can give of yourself without the fear of being emptied. This kind of love requires real strength because it isn't built on whether it will be returned. It is the freedom to walk away if you must, not from bitterness, but from a deep respect for your own heart. When you are free inside, your love is no longer needy or desperate. It becomes abundant. You stop loving in order to be validated. You love because you already know who you are. A woman who loves without chains will not lower her boundaries just to be accepted. She will not sacrifice her peace to keep someone else comfortable. She knows that love is at its strongest when it flows from a heart that is whole, not from one that is broken and begging to be mended. The moment you are able to love someone and yet stay rooted in yourself is the moment your love becomes pure, fearless, and unshakable. That kind of love builds rather than destroys, strengthens rather than drains, and sets free rather than binds. There are seasons in life when God will separate you from certain people, places, and habits. Not because you did something wrong, but because He has instructions for you that cannot be given in a crowd. Separation is not always punishment. More often, it is an invitation to walk closer with Him. When too many voices surround you, even God's purest whisper can get drowned out. Opinions, emotions, and noise from the world can cloud your vision, making it hard to tell the difference between His leading and your own desire. This is why solitude often becomes the birthplace of revelation. In these seasons, God is not trying to make you lonely. He is trying to make you listen. There are levels of clarity that only come when distractions are removed, when conversations end and your heart finally becomes quiet enough you can hear his whisper. The truth is that separation feels unnatural to a heart that longs for connection. But spiritual maturity learns that sometimes the most loving thing God does is to hide you away for a time. In those hidden moments, he sharpens your sight, strengthens your spirit, and lays out strategies for the next stage of your calling. The people who once walked close to you might not understand this season, and that's all right. They were never meant to hear what God is telling you in secret. Just as a seed grows underground before it ever breaks the surface, your destiny often develops in unseen places before it can be revealed to the world. This is why you must not resent divine separation. It is part of God's sacred plan. He knows that certain revelations need your undivided attention, so he clears the space until his voice is the only one you recognize. There is a level of spiritual maturity where you stop depending on the validation, permission, or applause of others to step forward in your purpose. This is the place of true authority, where your confidence rests not in human approval, but in the assurance of God's calling over your life. When you reach this place, your choices are no longer driven by fear of rejection or the need to keep people pleased. You stand on the deeper truth that the one who sent you is the only one you must answer to. This doesn't make you proud or arrogant. It makes you unshakable. Real authority comes when you know who you are, where you are going, and why you are going there, whether or not anyone agrees. Many never step into this place because they stay entangled in other people's opinions, waiting for permission that was never theirs to seek. The moment you stop asking, will they approve? And start asking, did God tell me to do this? You walk into the freedom of divine authority. Detachment becomes crucial here because it cuts away the emotional strings that let others control your movements. When you are no longer chained by the fear of loss or the dread of disapproval, you can follow God without hesitation. You can walk into rooms where you are misunderstood and still stand with dignity. You can endure seasons of being unseen or alone without shrinking back. In that space, you realize your life is an assignment, and assignments are fulfilled through obedience, not through consensus. True authority is shown in the strength to keep moving even when no one claps for you, and to keep standing when everything around you is shaking. It is the steady strength of a woman who knows she has already been approved by heaven. Daughter, the time for hesitation is finished. The days of letting fear, attachment, and the voices of others dictate your steps are over. God has been whispering, but now he is speaking with clarity. Every detachment, every closed door, every silent night, every unexpected shift, all of it has been part of his design to prepare you for this moment. You were never created to live under the control of people's moods or chained to circumstances that cannot carry your destiny. You were created to walk with authority, grounded in identity, and led by divine purpose. The strength you long for is already inside you. The freedom you've prayed for is already yours. The clarity you've been waiting on is about to break through, like the morning light. This is your season to rise without apology, to guard your spirit without guilt, and to love without losing yourself. The voices that once pulled your focus will fade, and the voice of God will stand out clearly. And when he speaks, you will not tremble, you will move. You will move because now you know that nothing you lost has lessened who you are, and nothing you face can overturn what God has already ordained. Walk forward, not as a woman who only hopes she is ready, but as a woman who knows she has been chosen all along.